So if you're a progressive, then you already know that the Democratic Party establishment currently is facing a huge conundrum. So they know that they have to rebrand and come up with some type of pseudo-populist platform in order to appeal to the voters that they neglected and abandoned over the course of the last couple of decades. But the problem is that if they truly move in a populist direction and move to the left, then that's going to alienate some of their wealthy mega donors. So what they're really doing right now is they're trying to walk on this tightrope. They want to have their cake and eat it too. They want to convince us that they actually give a damn about us while still being corrupt and taking money from large multinational corporations. But you can't have it both ways. But the Democratic Party, nonetheless, is trying to have it both ways. And their problem is that they're already alienating donors because they've become so unpopular that their electoral prospects are looking worse every single day. And as a result, wealthy donors don't want to waste money on a party that always loses, which is why they've had a difficult time raising money over the course of the last couple of months. Now, for a political party, if your mega donors start jumping ship, then obviously you turn to the grassroots portion for fundraising. But the Democratic Party's problem is that they've pissed off so many progressives and so many grassroots activists that they have a better chance at getting blood from a tulip than raising money from progressives. So Chuck Schumer knows this, and he knows that the party has got to change. So over the course of the last couple of weeks, they've been rolling out some new changes, and one of the first changes that they're doing is they're actually, for the first time in what seems like decades, they're trying to be introspective, and they're trying to talk about the real reasons why they lost. So in an interview with the Washington Post, Chuck Schumer, who is currently the Senate Minority Leader, told them that, quote, when you lose to somebody who has a 40% popularity, you don't blame other things. Comey, Russia. You blame yourself. So what did we do wrong? People didn't know what we stood for, just that we were against Trump and still believe that. So what he's saying there is absolutely true. I mean, if you lose to a reality TV show star, you don't get to blame anybody but yourself. That's an easy election. That's a cakewalk. You blame yourself. So that's a good first step. I mean, looking within and seeing what you did wrong is a good thing to do. Now, additionally, besides being a little bit introspective, they decided to roll out a new slogan. Now, of course, I told you about some of their shitty options that the DCCC floated, such as, I mean, have you seen the other guys? So what do they have now? So the new slogan is a better deal, better skills, better jobs, better wages. Now, if that slogan makes you feel hungry, oddly enough, then it's because it may sound familiar to something we've heard before.
Better ingredients, better pizza, Papa John's.
So they've worked on that slogan for months. They tested it in focus groups, and the best they can come up with is a Papa John's light slogan. I mean, you can't make this shit up. And it's not just me being a douche and saying, oh, that sounds like Papa John's. I mean, one of the titles on a Newsweek article published recently is that the Democrats are stealing Papa John's slogan for 2018. So clearly, I mean, the slogan is terrible for a multitude of reasons. It is vague. It doesn't state what they want. And if they're really trying to make it like a play on FDR's New Deal, then just saying a better deal doesn't mean very much, because you're basically just saying, well, you know, we know that you have a shitty deal. Ours is slightly better. I mean, what type of message does that really say to voters? Do you honestly think that's going to energize the base who you abandoned? Of course it's not. But putting all of that aside, Chuck Schumer took the time to talk about their new platform that they are currently rolling out, which is a better deal platform. And he kind of gave us some insight into what they are going to be offering us.
Week after week, month after month, we're going to roll out specific pieces here that are quite different than the Democratic Party you heard in the past. We were too cautious. We were too namby-pamby. This is sharp, bold, and will appeal to both the old Obama coalition, let's say the young lady who's just getting out of college, and the Democratic voters who deserted us for Trump, the blue-collar worker.
Some may wonder.
Economics, George, is our strength.
Some may wonder if it's going to be
at it.
Bold enough. I mean, even your New York colleague, Senator Kirsten Gillibrand, talking about health care, says if you really want to get prices down, you have healthcare. Will Democrats unify behind single-payer healthcare?
Well, our economic agenda, we've talked so much about healthcare that we are not going to address that in this agenda. We've been talking about it, and let me just say, the first thing we're going to do first, I think that this, the Trump care will not pass. It just is rotten.
You think it's dead?
I think it's very unlikely to pass because it's rotten to the core. People are not for reducing taxes on rich people or getting rid of Medicaid, which is a very, very middle class now thing, as well as for poor people. So the first things we're going to propose, if the Republicans hopefully will join us once they abandon this rotten bill, is some cost sharing, which the insurance companies say will help bring down premiums and stabilize the market. Something else that Republicans have often supported, which is reinsurance, proposed by Tom Carper and Tim Kaine. And Claire McCaskill's proposed something in the Bexar counties, B-A-R-E. If you can't get insurance in those counties, you can get the same kind of health insurance we get. Then we're going to look at broader things. Single payer is one of them.
So that is on the table?
Medicare, well, sure, many things are on the table. Medicare for people above 55 is on the table. A buy-in to Medicare is on the table. Buy-in to Medicaid is on the table. On the broader issues, we will start examining them once we stabilize the system. And our Republican colleagues have said, even Mitch McConnell alluded to the fact that should their bill fail, they'll work with us on these first stabilization things. Then Democrats and Republicans will have different ideas, should sit down and talk about how we can improve the system. And the one thing we insist on, we not do what they did, which is just 10 Republicans, 4 Republicans in a room, not even including us. Regular order. Hearings, committees, go through the process. But on this agenda, we are going to really shake things up.
All right, so he states there that in the past, Democrats have been too namby-pamby, they've been too cautious, and, you know, with this new platform, it's going to be sharp and bold, and that all sounds really fantastic to me. However, when it comes to the question of single payer, what was it that Chuck Schumer said about that again?
Well, sure, many things are on the table.
That doesn't sound sharp or bold to me, Chuck. You know what that sounds like? That sounds like a cop-out. Because what you're trying to do, and it's very transparent, you're trying to give yourself enough wiggle room to pander to those of us who want single payer, while allowing yourself to weasel out of it and not actually support single payer. But since his response to single payer, and whether or not the party would support it, was not bold and not sharp, TYT's Naomi LaChance gave him a second opportunity to answer whether or not he's in favor of single payer.
Excuse me, my name's Naomi LaChance. I'm a reporter with TYT Politics. How realistic do you think single payer system is?
Well, it'll be once we kill this bill, we'll move on and see what's good. There are a lot of good ideas on the table.
Do you think single payer would be a good idea?
It's one of them on the table.
Thank you.
So it's on the table. In other words, no, we don't support single payer. That does not sound very bold to me. But honestly, if you thought that that was a bad answer, I'm going to show you a clip from another bold Democrat who Naomi LaChance asked the same question to.
Excuse me. Hi, my name's Naomi LaChance. I'm a reporter with TYT Politics. What do you think is the likelihood of single payer working as a solution? So you're not going to say anything about single payer as people are...
How bold of you, Al Franken, refusing to answer a simple question about single payer. What a bold party. Wow. I mean, they've been too namby-pamby in the past, but now, I mean, this is them being bold right here, everyone. I mean, it's just embarrassing. But the reason why they're not giving us a straight answer is because we know where they stand. They don't support single payer. In fact, let's hear from another bold Democrat who gave us some insight into the party's true intentions when it comes to health care.
But I've been very clear about my desire to work with them and my desire to compromise. They want, as far as I can tell, flexibility of benefit design. They want something that has some cheaper premiums, less regulations in these exchanges. I'm willing to talk to them about that. I'm willing to give them some flexibility of benefit design if they're willing to give us some security on these exchanges that Donald Trump won't unwind them. There is a legitimate compromise to be had here. And I think Democrats are willing to bend, but they have to throw out this process and come and work with us in regular order, like John McCain told them to yesterday.
There is a legitimate compromise to be had here. I think Democrats are willing to bend. Is that so? So let's recall again how Chuck Schumer described Democrats before.
We were too cautious. We were too namby-pamby.
That's right. So they were too namby-pamby. And now you have Chris Murphy here, a Senate Democrat, saying that the party is, quote, willing to bend and that there's a legitimate compromise to be made with the Republicans, who are extremists, who want to strip healthcare away from us, and that the party, you know, they're willing to bend. That sounds like the opposite of bold. That sounds like you guys are weak and you're rolling over and dying in typical Democratic Party fashion. I mean, what's it going to take? You're willing to compromise here with extremists, and when you compromise with the Republican Party, who want to strip healthcare away from citizens, you're forced to meet them somewhere in the middle. But if you're not even willing to start with single payer, can you guess where you're actually going to end up? On their side, to the right. So in the end, we'll end up with something worse than Obamacare if we actually allow the Democrats to negotiate with Republicans. So that's how the Democratic Party is choosing to rebrand themselves. They're putting lipstick on a pig and telling us that they're different when really they're just as namby-pamby as they've always been. I mean, nothing has really changed here. But getting to more of their A Better Deal platform, Sarah Jones of New Republic explains the Democratic Party's better deal isn't that great. According to Schumer, Democrats hope to give small business tax credits to retrain unemployed workers. They have also pledged to fight for a $15 minimum wage, regulate prescription drug prices, and bust monopolies. At Vox, Jeff Stein notes that this is something of a populist turn for the party, and the party does deserve praise for affirming its commitment to a $15 minimum wage and a crackdown on monopolies and mounting prescription drug costs. The latter two planks will require Democrats to buck a number of corporate donors, a demonstration of political courage. For the working class, however, this better deal is insufficient. It does not mention Medicare for all or another approach to genuine universal health care. It does not mention student loan debt or a campaign against right-to-work laws. Those details may be released at some later date. In his editorial, Schumer implies that more information is forthcoming, but their omission doesn't exactly inspire confidence in the party's progressive vision. The plan's name itself is something of a tell. This isn't a modern New Deal. It does not challenge many of the structural imbalances responsible for our shoddy social welfare system, and it can't as long as Democrats boast of refusing to expand federal government. The better deal is indeed just what it says it is. Better, but not great. Not yet. So this isn't a bold platform. In fact, there's a particular word that I would use personally to describe this platform, but I can't think of it. Maybe Chuck Schumer can help me out.
Namby-pamby.
Ah, that's right. It's namby-pamby. And the Democratic Party has always been weak. They've always been namby-pamby. They've always been too cautious. And that's never going to change. So now it's up to organizations like Our Revolution, Justice Democrats, Brand New Congress, Draft Bernie to actually take over and push the left in a new direction, because the Democratic Party is broken. And they will remain broken at least until they get new leadership. But currently, the new direction that they're purporting to take us in is a joke. I mean, you cannot honestly look us in the eyes and tell us with a straight face that you're moving in a new populist direction if you won't even get on board unequivocally with Medicare for all. So the party needs to know that that is the true litmus test. If you want to talk about purity tests, Medicare for all is it. We don't support people, as progressives, we don't support people who don't support Medicare for all. So if you want to actually win in 2018, get on board with Medicare for all, because that is the true purity test. So if you want to whine about purity test, that's it. And you just failed the biggest one. So actually take a stand, don't be namby-pamby, and support Medicare for all, and a vision that's truly bold if you ever want a shot at taking back anything in government again.
Support this podcast by joining the independent progressive media revolution today at humanistreport.com.